Welcome back to Committed to Me. I'm Kisha Britton, licensed master social worker and mental health therapist.
And I'm Alexis Campbell, licensed clinical social worker and mental health therapist. Kisha, I got a game for us, girl.
Oh,
I got a game for us. Okay, so it's the month of May, right? Mm-hmm. What is the first song that comes to mind when you think about the month of May? I'm gonna give you three tries.
3 tries?
Yes.
Why am I thinking, oh, Lord, this is terrible. I want to say September by, what's the old group? Come on, they always come to Houston and do their shows.
Who?
I'm having a brain fart moment.
Well, that ain't it. Okay, try again.
Is it a song in May I need to know about?
Yes. Okay, what is the song in May?
Is this something Beyonce?
No, it's not. But, no, it's not.
The first song that comes in May? Girl.
What is the first song that comes to mind when you think about the month of May?
Do you remember the time?
No. Okay, that's your second time. You got one more try.
May.
It's related to today's episode.
Mama.
Yes!
That was it for real?
Yes!
Oh, snap. Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
Because, it's a mother-daughter's episode.
I'm following.
Okay, y'all.
Okay.
So today we are going to be talking about mother-daughter relationships because Mother's Day is right around the corner. Mm-hmm. And if y'all haven't gotten your gifts or expressed your gratitude, or you just thinking about your relationship with your mom, today is the episode for you. Okay?
Right.
So, Kisha, tell me about your mother-daughter relationship with your mom.
My mom is amazing. Back in the day, it was a struggle. I told you I think she was mean back in the day. I call her 1995 Monique because
1995.
That's when baby hell broke out. But present day, my mom is great. We have a good relationship. We talk. We're working on talking more often. Two busy people.
What is talking more often? What is that?
So my goal is to call her at least like once a week. And I know some people probably talk to their moms on a daily basis. Yeah. So we probably talk maybe two times verbally, but we have a group chat like my sister and we text on that mostly every day.
Okay.
But when you say talk, I think of just me and her one-on-one.
Yeah. That's pretty much.
But I mean, we have a good relationship now. It took a lot to get us there. Mm-hmm. You have your woes and your growing pains, and navigating as you're each growing. Mm-hmm. But personally, I think my mom is great. She's very supportive. She's there. She'll let me know if I'm doing something I need to be doing. Mm-hmm. She's going to let me know I need to pray, or the Lord sent her a vision at 2:00 in the morning and she will need to call me and ask me about it. Okay? That's my mama.
My mom's the exact same way, but my mom is definitely, like, when you say God-fearing woman, but I would say our relationship, it has definitely came like a very long way. Something about those mother-daughter relationships, that's where you see a lot of yourself, and I feel like moms see a lot of themselves in their daughters, and when you think about that mother-daughter relationship, I just think mother-daughter relationships are like the blueprint to how you're either navigating your mental health, navigating relationships, navigating like hardships. Like that is your blueprint, whether you see your mama as an example that you want to follow or an example that you don't want to follow in some way and somehow. I just think about those mother-daughter relationships and how the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So when it comes to like the mother-daughter relationship, when I think about my relationship with my mom, it's been a journey. And I know when y'all hear this episode and our previous episodes, we describe everything as a journey, but it's just a reflection of how everything is a process essentially. Yep. And my journey with my mother, it didn't start off so good. Like it
was tough.
It was tough. And I don't like to get into like zodiac signs because I don't know much about zodiac signs, but I'm a Scorpio and my mother is a Cancer. So us two in a room.
Two water signs. That sounds emotional.
It gets real emotional sometimes. And at first growing up, I used to hate like talking, and I'm a therapist now, but I used to hate like emotions and all that. But I had to learn like how to use emotions and like instead of seeing emotions as a roadblock, I started seeing it as like a tool for me to express myself. And I just say like, I'm thankful for the journey because where we are now, it's phenomenal. We talk every day. So our relationship definitely has evolved over time. And I do appreciate the process because as I had mentioned in like previous episodes, like our relationship and our journey has changed drastically. Like we talk, me and my mom, we went from talking once every so often to now every day. Like that's my girl. Like
that's cute.
If I do something that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I do this, she'll be the first person I call. Because it's a non-judgmental space. She allows me to like process my emotions. Now, I believe the girl is still working on not making and turning the conversation about her. But, you know, slow progress. But yeah, we definitely been through life together and it has evolved. How has your relationship evolved with your mom?
I would just say it's evolved from, you know, her trying to talk to me from a place of being a child to being her child now, and knowing I'm an adult, and, you know, she has to respect the decisions that I make. She may not agree with everything, but it's learning how we can both communicate to where I'm listening to her, I'm being respectful, but she's still able to parent me, but in a way that I'm an adult, you know? So I feel like that's the evolution of our journey now. Because, you know, before, if she would say something I didn't like, I'm like, call my sisters, can you believe your mama didn't say this to me and she talking to me like I'm a kid and how dare she, you know? So it's us, that's where we are now, like our communication, or me being open with her, like when it comes to me being married now, and trying to get that advice, you know, but at the same time not spilling too much of my business or my tea, but you know, she has that wisdom, you know, because she's already been where I am now at.
Got it. So you're transparent, but you're also having boundaries with your mom.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Because I don't want to tell her too much, you know, then she look at my husband like, I remember my daughter said.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we are now.
Boundaries are definitely important in families. Like, because sometimes everyone has the same mentality or have the same thought process in regards to how situations should be handled in marriage or in relationships. And that doesn't work for everyone. Like it really doesn't. Right. How have you practiced boundaries outside of like communication? Because sometimes some moms want to be all in your space.
Well, you know, I honestly, we don't even have that problem. Like she doesn't overstep in any kind of way. Like there's no knocking at your door and surprise, I'm here. Like she'll literally call me to be like, hey, you know, I'm having something this weekend. If y'all aren't busy, can you come down? Or if she wants to visit, she's like, hey, you know, check with Ricky. What do y'all have going on? You know, I know you may be busy. Or how do you feel about this with Layla? Like, even when she buys her stuff, she's just like, do you approve of this?
Oh, that's nice.
So luckily, we don't have that overstepping thing where I have to enforce the boundaries. Yeah. You know, she's not overbearing.
That's good.
I think she knows her lane. Yeah. Respectfully.
Yeah. Yeah, that respectfully. Because, you know, mamas be watching.
They do. I'm going to get a call already. I know.
I think the biggest thing that my mom and I had to work on was like boundaries. Like that was one thing we had to work on in terms of boundaries and expectations. Was one
expectations.
Thing. Yeah, boundaries and expectations were one of the things we had to work on. It wasn't necessarily me having a boundary with her. It was more so her having a boundary with me. And I say that because I'm my mom's oldest child. So I've seen everything, you know, and seeing everything at such a young age, that blurs the lines in terms of what is considered a child's place especially when you're doing life with that parent, it blurs the lines in terms of like what you should know and what you shouldn't know. And in our relationship, there was a lot of things that I did know or things that I did witness, and I would just ask questions or I'll just, you know, butt myself into conversations and get girl, that's a child, stay in the child place. And I'm looking like, oh, who are you? You
right. Like, you don't even know. I'm really the adult.
I'm really the adult here. Okay. I just watched these two kids over here and I just gave so-and-so a bath. Like like that's when I noticed my mom was establishing boundaries in a way to help protect our relationship and to protect me. Because living with her, doing life with her, like I had to grow up very fast. And I'm wondering, did your mom have to enforce boundaries with you? Or how was the relationship with y'all?
Well, at being younger, I feel like, you know, she was very stern and judgmental. And it made it hard for me to want to open up and talk because I felt like I'm always going to get in trouble or she's always going to be in a bad mood or yell at me. So even like being in college, you know, me and my sisters have to sit down with her to say, Mom, this is how you were back then.
Oh, yes.
And that was a hard conversation for us. But, you know, we've learned it. That's why I feel like back then, even I didn't want to be emotional. Anytime I thought about emotion or tears, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. You know, because I associate those emotions with something bad, just being in trouble, getting yelled at, or being shut off, you know. So now that's why we're like trying to navigate our communication to where we can have that open dialogue with no judgment. We can feel like we can talk about whatever is bothering us. And I know I'm not going to get in trouble for it, even though I'm an adult. But, you know, you don't want your mom to still be yelling at you. You know, you want her to talk to you from that level-headed place. So that's what I think about.
Seeing parents navigate emotions at a young age, it can almost send mixed messages, because I in my experience, or what I've noticed in terms of like mother-daughter relationships, and it doesn't matter if they're the oldest, the youngest, middle child, the way in which you see your mom navigate emotions, you inherit that within your own lifestyle as well too. There has been instances where I've heard a lot of women say, like, you know, emotions are weakness. Like that, if you're crying, you should never let a man see you cry, or you should never let your children see you cry, or like it almost puts out this idea that you're supposed to be this super woman or this super mom, and that you should do all things without experiencing emotions. And what that does is it dehumanizes a mom. It takes that vulnerability away from them, and they don't even have that choice, right? And there are different ways that I've noticed over time, like that message is changing. I'm so proud that is changing for women, because emotions aren't something you should run away from. There's something that should be embraced. And just because you saw your mom not express her emotions, that doesn't mean that you have to inherit that same belief for yourself, because what may have led her down that road could be something completely different for you, right?
Yeah, it makes me think about like when my dad passed away when I was like 6, 7. So for those next couple of years, you know, looking back, I can see it now. But back then, it's like my mom was dealing with a lot. And, you know, I feel like she would always like come home or yell at us, or everybody would go to their room when she come home, or she wants to go in her room, close her door, doesn't want to be bothered. But as I'm older, I'm like, she was dealing with a lot, like dealing with her grieving, dealing with now you're the sole role, the sole provider, when that's not what you had planned, because you married somebody. And then trying to navigate, you know, bills and trying to raise 3 kids on your own. It was stressful and it was a lot. So I can see why she didn't want to be bothered. Like, I see why I go in my room, close my door, leave me alone, you know, because you're dealing with a lot. So it does bring up your point. You have to be able to process your emotions. Yeah. And just because you see your parents handle their emotions or their stress a certain way doesn't mean that's how you need to do it. You know, you got to unpack it and process it.
And I commend you and your mom for having that conversation about you guys' relationship in college. That was around the same time I had my conversation with my mother about our relationship, is when I went to college, because I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm having different experiences. And I always believe that no matter if you're a child or if you're an adult, like, you're going to need your village, right? And if your village consists of a parental figure, then that's awesome. That's someone that you can lean on for support and guidance. And at that time, I knew for myself that I needed my mom to be a part of my village. But I also need to understand her first, because growing up, it's really easy to see your parents from a very childlike lens, because you're a child. But as you grow older, that lens sometimes doesn't fit in every scenario and as you develop and kind of keep learning and experiencing life. So I do believe you have to change your lens in terms of how you view your parent when you get into, you know, adulthood and you're experiencing life. So when y'all had that conversation, what were you creating space for y'all relationship?
Yeah, because it just got to a point, you know, and we needed to just have, because it's like everybody sweeps the emotions under the rug.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we have our issues, we may get into it, and even including my sisters, and then everybody goes in their own space. You know, nobody talks to each other for the next couple of weeks. And it's just like, we didn't want to keep doing that. So we wanted to have that open dialogue just to bring light to the situation, or how we viewed our childhood. Because, you know, everybody can view it a different way. And then that could affect our relationships as adults. And then we have kids that can affect their relationships with each other, you know, their cousins and whatnot. So it's just shedding light to something that you feel like finally needs to be addressed, and let's stop acting like it's not here, and let's not sweep it under the rug anymore.
But what tips would you give our viewers who have relationships with their mom, but they're not at that space of wanting to communicate. Like they've done the work, but they notice like the parent hasn't done the work. Because that can be very hard to navigate, where you want to see change and that you want the relationship to get better, but that parent is just not in that space. And that could be very disheartening. So what tips would you give?
Like you mentioned in the other episode, you have to adjust your expectations.
Yeah.
You have to just accept the situation for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you leave that space to address it if and when that time ever comes. Mm-hmm. It may not come, and you just have to know, this is how it is. Or it can come, and then at that time you have to be open and willing to communicate and, nurture that relationship for it to grow. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, because, like when you resist how things are, or you live in that, I wish they were like this phase, it's like you just have that thought replaying over and over and over. And then that's like traumatizing you in a way, stressing you out, and you don't want that.
Yeah. You have to come to a level of acceptance when dealing with parents, but not viewing them in the lens of who you want them to be, but just finding like who they are. Finding out who they are. But in the way, I encourage people to be curious. Be curious about your parent and their upbringing and why they are the way that they are. Especially when you think about generations and what certain generations had to go through and what women had to go through at that time. A mom having a hard exterior is something that was required because of the circumstances that she was in. It wasn't necessarily a choice. And understanding a parent's background or being curious as to why they are the way that they are, it also gives you space to have grace for them as well too.
Yeah. And grace is needed. We all need grace because we're going to come up short. We're going to disappoint people sometimes, but you want to be able to extend the grace. So when it's your turn, the grace is given to you. Because you're human,
And there's going to be a time where you become a parent.
Yep, definitely.
Because when you brought up the story about like your mom like going in her room and closing the door, I used to hate when someone says, I don't want nobody to speak to me. Like, I don't want to hear nobody coming at me or speaking to me like for the next 48 hours. And once I started experiencing life and I got real busy, I was like, I just need nobody to talk to me or text me in the next 24 hours. Okay. Like, I'll come out when I'm ready.
Right. But right now I need to go into my shell and I need to de-stress and, all of that. I get it now.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about how we talked about the other episode, taking out that meat. Now we understand why we got in trouble for not taking out the meat, because they had all this to deal with throughout the day. And they're like, the one thing I asked you to do.
And you didn't do it. Yeah. Or like if you already have something like pre-planned, like, okay, I'm going to get off work. I'm going to go and cook. Right. And if that's not, and I get it now.
It throws off everything.
Like, mama girl, I get it now. Like, I get it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What is a positive memory that you have of your mom?
Her always speaking positivity in life into me. Like, she'll tell you in a heartbeat, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful.
Yes.
She'll be like, you need to make sure you, don't have any kids out of wedlock. You need to get married. I raised you better than that. You're smarter than that. You need to make sure you go to college. Like, it was just always affirming to me. And when I saw parents who would put their kids down or like cuss them out, like I felt for that, because I'm like, my mom never did that to me, and I appreciate that, because I feel like it gave me the confidence within myself now that I'm older. Yeah. And I'm like, I just love that, the way that she was always positive. And then she'd flip it. She'd be like, you're pretty because you get it from me. But mama cool.
Giving it back to herself.
Yeah, she was always affirming, always.
I think my favorite memory of my mom is seeing her journal. My mom is a journaler, and I never understood like why she would journal so much. But when we talk about mental health and parenthood, she needed a place to process. And at the time as a child, I didn't understand that. I would go and try to find her journals and read it. She wrote in cursive, girl, so I couldn't read it.
Couldn't read that.
Couldn't read it. Only letters I knew was I and H. I was like, I was trying to sound it out and everything.
It
could not work. It could not work.
That is too funny.
But seeing her journal, it made me want to journal. And at a very young age, like I remember getting a diary and like just writing out like what I was experiencing. And even to this day now, I still journal. And I give that all back to her, because I saw how helpful that could be and how therapeutic that could be, even though she didn't have a therapist or she didn't have the money to afford therapy and things of that nature. She just found different ways to give herself a sense of relief. Yeah. And relating and reflecting. And In my family, we are country, y'all. We are from the country. Like, we are proud to be country. But my best memories is us having gatherings at like our house, and we are a very loud family. So y'all, we could be in the house, but you hear us down the street. Like,
that's loud.
We're loud.
That's loud.
But we're like, the women in my family are storytellers. So the way that they tell stories and the way that they share their journeys, it's always through storytelling. And even, like I said, they didn't have those resources to mental health resources, or they didn't have the money to afford therapy. Them being in that space was therapeutic. Mm-hmm. And me hearing them laugh, even though I know that they're going through something rough or tough in their own journey, I just know that when they got into that space and got into that room, they let all that go.
Yeah, there's nothing like family love.
Yeah.
Getting together, seeing the bond, finding humor in something, being able to talk about it. I definitely feel that.
Were there any significant events in you all's relationship that impacted y'all journey?
It takes me back to when I was in high school. Dating somebody you ain't no business dating.
Ooh.
Mama came home, he was at the house.
Girl!
That didn't go well.
Oh, you was bold.
I think I was on punishment for at least 6 months. But she was just like, I'm not playing with you. Like, I raised you better than this. You're gonna get it together. You finna be going to church. He's already in church, but she gonna make it be more church. Yeah. You thought Sunday and Wednesday was enough. No,
she was not.
You need
she
more.
Wasn't playing.
But she didn't play. She was like, you gonna take this Bible out. We finna pray out loud as a family, one by one. Like my sister, my other sister, and me and her. Like we all finna pray out loud. You gonna get used to praying, okay?
Right.
So my mama did not play about incorporating God into everything. And she let you know, like this is not flying.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do this. This is not how I'm finna run my house. You're not about to be boy crazy. Like there's other things you need to be focused on. Focus on your books. So that moment, it like shifted to me like, okay, let me stop playing. That was real bold.
That was real
I ain't
bold.
done that since. Scared. I remember opening the door like, close the door right back in your face. Hide.
Nope. Right? Oh, girl, my nerves would have been through the roof.
It was bad, but I think, that was a moment right there.
I mean, in mother-daughter relationships, you challenge your mom.
You do.
Right? You challenge your mom, not because of like lack of respect, but for some it could be to a lack of respect. But that challenging comes up because you're developing, you're becoming your own individual.
I am, but listen, I think I'm still scared of my mama to this day.
Oh, same. The fear is there, right? The fear is there. It's still there, but but there's still a level of respect that's there as well too.
Definitely.
I think the most significant moment I can think about is with me and my mother. I've always been outspoken. I've always been an outspoken child and talking about like what I want, what I don't want. And I always remember my mom telling me like, Alexis, this is my household. This is not your household. And I would still keep going. Just keep going in terms of us having like that dialogue, because that was so important to me as a child to be heard and to share what my thoughts and feelings were. And there was just some things that I just didn't agree with that my mom was doing. And like I said, being the oldest and seeing everything that's happening and how it's affecting all of us, I became very vocal about that. And I think that was hard for my mom. I think that was very hard.
Even for my mom too, because we didn't have that open dialogue. Back then it was you just do as I say.
Yeah.
There is no questions. There is no buts. And I feel like back then they might have thought it was like undermining them.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, like I really need you to explain this to me. Like I really have questions. Why can't I ask those questions? I really want to be able to freely talk to you without thinking I'm going to get in trouble.
Right.
So I think that's a lot of things parents do struggle with it.
Yeah. And I think at that time as well, it was the reality setting in. The reality in which like she was noticing like, oh, okay, like you making sense. Like, like she's seeing the reflection of her actions and how that's affecting her. But she's able to deal with that. But I think it took her some time to figure out how to explain that to us. Right. Us meaning like me and like my siblings as well too, in terms of like how things are changing and how transitions are going to affect us. So I encourage parents, when mother-daughter relationships, have those conversations, right? Be open, allow yourselves to create space for one another, but not in a judgmental way. Because I know I was judging hard. I was judging really hard, but it was just coming from, like I said, a childlike lens, you know? Yeah. But having an open dialogue, it goes a very long way. Agreed. But I think my mom, she saw something in me. She was just like, you know, she was like, she saw something in you. She was just like, you're not gonna allow yourself to be in situations where you're uncomfortable.
Which is good.
Yeah. And I noticed that once my mom started like listening to me and we started having that dialogue, she started trusting my insight more, right? And seeing me as an individual as well. Yeah. But when it comes to your relationship with you and your mom, how are things now? How would you describe it now?
Oh, they're smooth sailing now. You know, now that you made it past that bumpy road. Yeah. Now that she sees I am my own individual person, I'm gonna make the decisions that I want to make, whether she agrees with it or not. You know, and you know, I'm gonna listen to her input, but I still have to do what flows for me. Okay. You know, and so now we have a good relationship. I can't tell you the last time we argued.
Oh, that's good.
So I feel like we finally made it past that rocky road. We're honoring our own individual spaces, realizing she's more than just my mother. She is her own person. Yeah. She's going to go through her own things. And then just know my mama did the best she could back then. You know? Yeah. For what she had and what she was going through, she did her very best. And I think she did a great job raising us.
I would say the same. With the resources that she had in terms of like money, right? In terms of education, I still say the same. My mom did the best that she could in terms of supporting my sister and I. And that was not easy because we all had different personalities. Do you see yourself reenacting behaviors that your mom did?
Definitely. Like Layla broke in 2 days, she broke 2 glass cups in a glass bowl. Ooh. And I just thought about my mama getting mad that we broke something and she being like, I can't have nothing nice because y'all always breaking my stuff. You know, and then I called her and I'm like, I'm turning into you. I feel like I'm looking like her now. My mannerisms are like her. So I'm like, oh, I'm turning into my mother. Or the way disciplining, I'm like, yeah, I'm turning into her. So,
because the reason why I ask that is because a lot, depending on your relationship with your mom, some people can despise their relationship with their parent, and they can find themselves either like hating like the way in which they're navigating relationships, or they're hating certain things that they do, and they're like, oh, that's just like, I'm doing it just like my mom. And that to me, that's like a clear mirror or a clear sign that like, okay, there's some healing that needs to be done in that area. There's some healing that needs to be done in that area, because why are you judging yourself or still treating yourself with the same level of disappointment that you would treat your mother with? Because that just seems like that's an unhealed place. But it can be hard to sit with that sometimes, that the way in which you're navigating relationships, especially romantic ones, they're similar to the way in which your mom may have navigated them.
Right. But that's why you gotta bring awareness to how you are, how you're acting. You gotta take time to sit down and unpack it so that you can find out like, okay, what's the root cause of this? Like, why am I really doing this? Why do I really feel this way? What did I see that I'm literally mimicking? You know, was it okay for what I saw? You know, you just gotta start asking yourself those hard questions.
Yes, because seeing your mother go through heartbreak or go through a hard time, the way people internalize that, it can just look different for everyone, right? But I definitely encourage people to sit down and think about the ways in which they're internalizing like their mother's setbacks or seeing their mom go through heartbreak. I see a lot of the time people take on this idea of like, oh, that's never going to happen to me. I would never put myself in that situation. And then it happens. And then it happens. Yes. And then you're judging yourself in a very negative way. And that's not healing for you, nor is that healing for you, like the relationship that you have within your mother-daughter dynamic.
Right. You got to make space for your emotions to exist.
Yes.
Because when you do that, okay, now you're allowing yourself to actually go through it and process it. But when you feel like, hey, there's no reason I should be feeling like that, you're like invalidating yourself. Yeah. And that's a whole, heap of problems.
So I know like we talked about our mothers and like how our mothers are, involved in our lives. But what tips would you give someone who is going through Mother's Day and they lost a motherly figure?
I just say, think about those good memories that you had with your mom. Surround yourself with family. Even set time aside to maybe, you want to talk to your mom. You want to go to the gravesite to visit them if that's possible. But I think instead of just being sad that my mom isn't here, let's celebrate her. Let's celebrate her life. Let's celebrate the moments that we did have together. Because I know people personally that are dealing with the loss of their mother, and it is hard, and it takes time. It takes years to kind of go through that process. But don't isolate yourself that day. Definitely surround yourself with family so that you can feel that love. So you're just not in the bed or at home crying all day.
A mother's love is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And losing a parental figure who had played a major role in your life, it can feel like something is missing.
Yep.
Right? So give yourself all the things that that person used to give you. So if y'all used to go to a special restaurant, or if y'all used to do something like, in y'all relationship that you enjoy, do those things. Still give yourself those things. You can still honor someone in a way that resonates with you, right? Because it's hard losing a parent. And it's hard trying to figure out ways to fill that void. But I always encourage people, go back to the foundation. Go back to the things that y'all used to do. Entertain your inner child.
I was just going to say the same thing, inner child.
Yeah. Inner childhood work is a real thing in therapy. How would you encourage people to entertain their inner child?
I'm going to say do something fun. Like, it could literally be, me and my mom used to go get ice cream. I want to go on an ice cream date, go walk the park. Something it could be something simple as that. You don't have to make it complicated at all. Or pull out, my mom used to love this game. My mom used to love this album. I'm going to play it in honor of her. I think of things like that, just the smallest things that you used to do that just made you feel kid and carefree.
Yes.
Yeah,
but it's hard. Process the emotions as well too as they come up.
Definitely,
right? Don't suppress them.
Yes.
But if you do find yourself feeling angry about the choices that your mom make, or the fact that she's not here to experience, that she's not physically here to experience the person that you are today or the things that you've accomplished, still talk to your mom as if they are. That could be very therapeutic as well too. It's something that's encouraged in therapy to help people just continue to carry that person on as they're going through life, right? But I mean, people see the loss of a family figure or a motherly figure in different ways. So allow yourself to do what resonates with you in a healthy way.
Yeah, and I just thought about, like, even pull out a photo album and just go through the photo album and replay those memories. Gather yourself with your family and just be like, oh, remember when she did this? And you start talking about it, you laugh, and now you have another memory to add on top of that.
So when it comes to grief and losing a motherly figure or a parental figure, I always say grief allows you to have a shift in perspective. Identify where your perspective is when it comes to Mother's Day or when it comes to holidays. If your perspective is in something that isn't beneficial for your mental health or is not a reflection of you guys' relationship, definitely find a behavioral health therapist that can help you work through that as well too. Don't just suppress it or let it go by another year. That could be a moment in which you should take a sign to just really think about your healing and what could be beneficial for you.
That was good, girl.
Thank you.
That was real good.
So how would you want to close us out with your segment today?
Okay, so we're going to start reading you guys a inspiring piece, and then we're going to leave you with a reflective question that we want you to leave in the comments your answer or share it with somebody. Tag us in it if you guys start able to process this or you want to share it with us. So I call it my mantra or mantra. So I am worthy of trust, loyalty, dependability, and love. I deserve people who support me, people I can connect with, and those who understand me. I can tap into my childhood to see which parts I still carry with me as an adult. I can examine which parts of my thoughts are not my own and belong to my upbringing instead. I can undo and unlearn what is not beneficial for me in the present day. So then our question is, what did childhood teach you about love and relationships that you're finding out isn't true? So those are the things that you may need to unpack. We talk about examining and being able to process that. So share with us in the comments what your answers are. We love to hear y'all's stories or where you are in your journey. So definitely leave a comment below. We definitely will reply back. Sure will. But we thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, happy Mother's Day. And we'll see y'all next time. Thank you for watching the Committed to Me podcast. Okay. Bye, y'all. Bye.